Hello chess friends and welcome to your Out of Chess channel and welcome to a truly amazing game that I simply cannot wait to show you. Welcome to a spectacular gameplay by Stockfish 17 against another top engine, Devre, in a crazy Adorjan defense against the English opening. And this game is really special because this game showed to me that you can really play an aggressive, an ultra sharp game even without the queens on the board, even when the queens are traded off in the early stage of the game. How Stockfish simply activated the other pieces, how Stockfish performed really an amazing attacking performance even without the queens on the board was really amazing. So put your seatbelts on and enjoy again in a wild gameplay by the strongest chess engine in the world by Stockfish 17. So let's see now what happened. With white, the fish opened with the move c4, the English opening. We have now the great snake variation, and after move e4, e5, we have now the Adorjan defense. So Stockfish breaks the center. Here Devre plays a solid knight to f6, which is really the best method here to proceed, simply hitting the pawn on e4. Stockfish takes, Devre takes also in the center of the board, and we have now really an equal position. And I love the fact that here the game was not prearranged into some dubious openings. Here we see many winning games by black, many winnings games by white, also many drawish games. So I think it's a pretty equalish position where white has, of course, a solid position. White has the space advantage, but black has already this very active knight on e4. Stockfish continues to attack the piece that's the center of the board, and here counterplay here by Devre simply attacking the king. We have now knight to d2, and you could maybe go now into simplification with knight takes d2, bishop to d2, bishop takes, queen takes d2, and then to break finally the space advantage here in the center of the board. But then after e takes d6, queen to d6, queenside castling could happen, and I think white is better in development, although nothing spectacular. You see also the evaluation bar, the position is about equal, and I'm not sure if Stockfish would squeeze, maybe win out of this position, although as I said, better activity. The knight has to be also brought now into the game. Still can maybe play h4, h5 flank attack because the pawn structure is a little bit weakened here if for instance black castle. So very interesting position. Maybe this was the way to go for Devre. But after knight to d2, here Devre decided to play d5, and this move is really again simply the best method here for black. My Stockfish engine home says you should continue like this. Black is perfectly fine here. d5 is actually a continuation that has been played in 1976 between Victor Korchnoi and Jan Timman, in which Victor Korchnoi won the game. So it's really a repetition of an amazing game back from 1976. Really interesting position already, and actually this position has been reached only in this particular game that I've mentioned. After move d5, Stockfish takes en passant, and now here knight to c5. Here you see also the ideas by black. Devre has now an attack against the loose bishop on d3. Stockfish retreats, and now Devre finally takes, and see black has a really good activity. The queen is centralized, the knight is on a solid score, bishop is very active. But the issue about this setup is that you see all of the pieces are lined up on dark square, so that's why it gives here Stockfish the opportunity to play a3, and now the bishop is blocked and also by the queen on this diagonal. You cannot of course retreat because of b4, and the position is then collapsing. So you have to give up the bishop pair. That's the issue about now black's continuation. After bishop to d2, Stockfish also took. Here Devre took, and now we have reached this position where now the queens are off the board. And it seemed to me in the beginning when I analyzed the game at home that this should be maybe such a spectacular game. Probably nothing wild will happen, but put your seatbelts on. Look how Stockfish creates an amazing and thrilling attack out of this seemingly drawish positions. Here Devre continues with bishop to e6. Stockfish contemplates it with bishop to c3. He Devre castles, but now comes the problem that we have mentioned also in the beginning. When black gives up the bishop for knight, there are several dashwood problems here in front of black's king after kingside castle, and Stockfish uses now this moment immediately, plays now b4. First of all, attack against the knight drops back, and now h4 immediately, giving up simply the pawn on c4. If bishop to c4 happens, then you just play queenside castling, and after something like a5, you play b takes a5, and then after knight to c5, you proceed with h5. But actually, the same position will happen after the move h4 that Stockfish played, but in a different move order. Devre decided instead of bishop to c4 to play a5 immediately, which makes perfect sense when we think about this position harder. Probably when white attack now immediately with h4 here, probably white is not going to castle kingside. White is probably going to castle queenside. So that's I mentioned that this move a5 makes perfect sense. You want to open files, you want to open diagonals after potential queenside castling, and Devre does it immediately. Stockfish says, okay, I'll take, and now finally bishop to c4. As I said, now we have reached the same position like in the previous line. So after bishop to c4, Stockfish castles queenside, but now look at this. This is a stunning bishop pair, already supported by the rook. Now Stockfish will have to somehow maybe include the knight into the game, but slowly and surely Stockfish builds an amazing attacking formation. Knight to c5, Devre gets back into the game, knight to h3, and now in order maybe to somehow keep black in the game, Devre should have played maybe bishop to b3, at least trade off one of these beasts here that are of course targeting the king here. So maybe bishop to b3 was the best choice here for black, but still it gets complicated. After knight to f4, look at this, after bishop to c2, you don't even pick up the bishop immediately, you play knight to d5. First of all, threaten here the move knight to f6, and now after potential f5, now you pick up the piece, and I would say white is again better because of this f6 weakness that black has obviously, and still the dark square problems also in front of black's king. So maybe this was the way to go, but it's still, I would say, a complicated position. After knight to h3, Devre tried to block out now the potential h5 move by white, but now Stockfish plays an amazing g4. This is the way to go. This is how you break the chain in front of black's king. What should you do if you try here h takes g4? I wanted to really first of all show you the real tactical problems for black here. H takes g4 was not the continuation by black, but it leads into such a devastating position after knight to g5. Look at this. You're trying, I don't know, bishop to e2, but no, rook to d2, I don't know, bishop to c4, but then h5 breaks the position. Even if you try f6, white doesn't have to even react here. You just proceed with h takes g6, and I wanted to show after f takes g5 that this is now the checkmate picture that will be now present till the end of the game. This will be a pattern that bothers black now in the continuation of the game. That's now a huge problem, although this was not the continuation, but a similar tactical problem, a similar problem for black will happen now many times in the continuation of the game. So that's why here after g4 that Stockfish played, Devre tried instead of h takes g4 a counter attack, bishop to e2, but now Stockfish says no, you're not playing the counter attack. I'll counter your counter attack with the move g takes h5. This is the way to go. Stockfish gives up even here the exchange, which is really crazy. If bishop to h5 happens, if you try to keep somehow the position fixed on the king side, because now obviously white cannot really push the pawns further, then there is this problem. Rook to g1 with the preparation to play knight to f4, and then I think again the position is messed up here for black. After g takes h5, that's why bishop to d1, Stockfish takes, and now knight to c6. And Devre is now desperately trying to get more defenders into the game. You see, black's knights are simply far away from the action. Many things are already happening here. As we mentioned, bishop pair, rook is coming into the game, knight is also very active, so black has to be really now fast in order to defend his position. Stockfish continues with knight to g5, f6, and you can guess what the fish is doing. Stockfish is simply not retreating. Stockfish gave up already the rook for the bishop, but now Stockfish continues with h6. This is the way to go. And let's see now again options. In the game, rook takes a5 was Devre's continuation, which seemed like again logical idea. You're trying to do something also on the queen side, but let's see different options. For instance, what you could try is, for instance, f takes g5. Many of us would play it, of course, but against Stockfish it's not working because of bishop to g6, and the threat is h7 checkmate. So h7 is immediately checkmate because the dark square bishop is controlling the g7 score. So you would be forced then to play rook to f7, and then after bishop to f7, king to f7, h7. Again, there's nothing that can be done. You cannot stop this pawn. You will have to give up simply the rook here for pawn. I've just analyzed this line. This is, I think, the easiest line to understand, although there are even better options. For instance, Stockfish, for instance, suggests that you should play here on king to c2, but with h8, the promotion, I think you're pretty solid. You will eventually pick up this pawn, and again, I would say completely winning position. So f takes g5, picking up the knight is not working because of bishop takes g6. Even if you try knight to e5, seems also logical because finally you're blocking the dark square bishop. That's really the best minor piece on the board that's targeting this h8 square. Then rook to d5 is the huge tactical problem. If you try something like this again, then rook to e5 again gets the piece back. After rook to d5, you could maybe try, I don't know, knight from e to d7 to try somehow keep the knights glued together. But then a calm bishop to g6 again wins the game. Again, there is this problem. You cannot pick up the knight because of h7, the amazing checkmate pattern. So this is not working. So that's why, as we mentioned, h6, Devre tried rook to a5, but now Stockfish continues with another brilliant move. Maybe just for fun, if you want to practice some tactics, how to attack further, pause the video and try to see now simply the best move here for white. And I would also love to point out here, if white doesn't play this move, I would dare to say many of these lines are leading into a drawish continuation. So you have to be really beast here in order to win the game. So what would you do now in this particular position? Let's really practice some really nice attacking ideas. Okay, the best move is here to simply push the pawns further with the move h5. This is the way to go. Again, if you try f takes g5, now there is not a problem of bishop to g6, but now actually h takes g6 will happen. And now look at this crazy position. Two connected pass pawns are dancing in front of Black's king, although Black has a whole rook up, but cannot defend anymore this pawn progress. Game over here for Black. After move h5, that's why rook takes a3 makes again sense. You're trying to attack the bishop on c3, but now Stockfish simply retreats. And let's see again options for Black. What should Black do? Maybe knight to b3 seems again tempting. You're trying to somehow, I don't know, create at least some kind of a threat. Then bishop to b3, actually it's simply working because after rook to b3 there is another problem. After h takes g6 and rook takes b2, maybe Devre would love to give up now finally the rook for this very active bishop. Again, white doesn't have even to take out this rook. The issue is now another problem that Black has in the continuation of the game. There is now also the problem of the 7th rank, and now there are threats of h7, g7. So these two connected pass pawns are again simply too much to handle here for Black. So this is not working. Even knight to b3, as we mentioned, doesn't work for Devre. After bishop to b2, rook to a2. Devre is desperately trying to give up now the rook for this active bishop on b2, but now h takes g6. Now comes finally rook takes b2, and you can guess that finally probably Stockfish will not take out now the rook. Stockfish plays now the amazing knight to h7. This is the way to go. For instance, believe it or not, rook takes b2. If you play this move, is actually a drawish position. This is the beauty of this attack. Many of us, I think, would maybe even see many of these moves, but many of us, I would dare to say, probably would not see all of these best continuations. Look at this. King takes b2 actually is now draw. After f takes g5, there is simply there's simply no more bishop here on this dark square diagonal. That was very dangerous because the threat was always h7. And now with the upper piece, Black can hold this position. Again, you see also the evaluation bar. It should be a drawish position. Maybe in human level, I would dare to say Black would even win this game because of this two connected pass pawns. Also here, maybe you could sacrifice something here. You just need to defend this position on the king side, and then with both of these knights, this could be again unpleasant game here for white. So see, king takes b2 is simply not working. Here Stockfish, instead of king takes b2, found out the amazing knight to h7. This is the way they go. What should you do? Here Devre tried, rook takes c2, again makes perfect sense, giving up now on the rook for the bishop just in order to keep these beasts out of the game. But now Stockfish continues obviously with king takes c2, and there is now another problem. For instance, if you try to step back with the rook doesn't have good scores. Here you cannot play, obviously, rook to f7. If you try to keep here, for instance, your rook on the board, then the issue is knight to f6, and then you have to step back, then g7, and after something like king to f7, you just play rook to g1, and there's simply no defense against h7, g8. This is game over. Even a promotion immediately could happen. Again, completely winning position here for Stockfish. After king takes c2, that's why Devre tried again a logical move, knight to e6, bringing more and more defenders into the game. But now comes the problem that we have discussed also already in this video. Now the 7th rank is a huge problem. In the continuation of the game, Devre tried knight to e5, but now comes another stunner by Stockfish, knight takes f8. If you take knight takes f8, then the issue is you don't here even react with the rook. You just play h7, and then after something like king to h8, g7, and the game is over. You have to now even give up here, I don't know, the knight for pawn, and again, I would say game over for black. So after knight to f8, that's why king takes f8 had to be played by Devre, but now g7 again by the fish, king to g8, and now rook to e7 with the threat of rook to e8, immediately pushing delivering the check and then pushing the pawn to g8. It would be, I would say, even a checkmate. So that's why king to h7, Devre doesn't allow this check on the back rank, and now Stockfish picks up the piece, and now the position is splashed. Finally, the position is not so complicated, and we have reached now this position in which Stockfish is up the exchange and has now again completely winning position. So here Devre continues with knight to g4. Stockfish occupies again the 7th rank. Rook takes c7, knight to f5. Stockfish attack now the pawn. Devre tried to do something, but now Stockfish grabbed this one. Okay, Devre took now also this one, but now this pawn is falling. Knight to g4, and now rook takes b7 here in this particular position. Devre resigned. So maybe you could battle without this pawn, but with this pawn on the board, this is not something that you want to proceed now with the black pieces. So thrilling, amazing, spectacular attack by Stockfish. You saw, even without the queen on the board, when the queens are off the board, Stockfish still makes so much progress, makes so much damage against your defense. Very spectacular attack with this pawn movement on the king side, where the knight was fixed on g5. You could never take it. The bishop's activity, then giving up the pieces, even not picking up the rook that tried somehow to battle. Stockfish simply pushed the position till the end, and amazing attack again by the strongest chess engine in the world. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas here of the Adorjan defense against the English opening. And if you want to see some other spectacular chess games like this, check out our Come to Chess Games Play by Computer series. Here's the link of our playlist. We have more than 700 games in this amazing list with very spectacular games. And if you like this content, hit the subscribe button. See you soon with some more videos. And what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.